delicious. So, we're here to talk about Gunpla. Now, Gunpla is just kind of my thing. It's my favorite hobby that I've ever done. I've been doing it since middle school. I love it. I love Gundams. I love anything related to Gundams. I love sci-fi. And I just love building plastic model kits. Lego was an addiction when I was a kid, and now I'm into these. Yeah. Still doesn't explain why I'm making this YouTube channel, why I'm doing all of this, you know? Well, the thing is that I'm doing this because I went from, well, being a Asian American teenager, a very angsty one at that, to now living here. I've been here for the last 2-3 years. All I've been doing is building Gunpla. Not an addiction, just a hobby. Anyway, this video is meant to be sort of an intro, dive into, well, my passion for this hobby, and also share with you guys a little bit of, well, what it's like to build in Japan. A lot of people think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it sure is. There's a lot of great stuff when building here, but there's also a lot of stuff under the hood that people don't necessarily know about. So I hope I can share some of it with you. But first things first, I want to spend a few videos talking about my build style. So, without further ado, let's get into the basics. Now, before we get started into the actual building of the Gunpla itself, let me introduce you to what tools I'm going to use. 1 nipper for sprue cutting, 1 for heavy duty, 1 hobby knife, 1 diamond file, and sandpaper of various grits. Today we will be taking a crack at the real grade Force Impulse Gundam. This kit has been fermenting in my closet for over a year at this point, so it's about high time that I get this box cracked open and see what's, well, inside. I'm actually, to tell the truth, very excited to be building this kit. The real grade Force Impulse is a design that I absolutely adore, and, well, there are a lot of unique pieces that I can just see from the runner, so I'm kind of quaking in my boots right now out of excitement. Now, when it comes to cutting pieces off of the runner, I prefer the often underused underhand method as opposed to the overhand method. Now, the reason why I prefer this is, well, there's not really a distinct reason, but I like it in the sense of that I can see where I'm cutting a little better. So as opposed to overhand, sometimes my hand, because I have big hands, it blocks where I'm exactly cutting. So because of that, sometimes I accidentally am going to be cutting into the piece, sometimes I might accidentally damage the part. By going underhand, I can see exactly where the blade is, and that allows me to make more precise cuts as to where I am exactly removing the part from the runner in question. One of the things that surprised me about the real grade Force Impulse was the inclusion of undergating. While undergating is a good thing, it does also have very, very oversized nubs. So instead of using standard just hobby knives, here what I'm doing is I'm taking a nipper, cutting off the excess undergate, and then following up with the hobby knife in order to trim off just a little bit of nub that is left over. Another thing that I like to do is arguably completely optional, and that is peg cutting. Peg cutting is used when you are planning to paint your Gunpla. Because of the fact that Gunpla Bandai kits use a snap peg system, sometimes these pegs tend to be very, very tight and difficult to disassemble. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting the pegs, providing them less friction when they're inserted into the peg hole. This prevents parts from breaking when I am disassembling them, and also means that I'm able to get to parts easier when it comes to the painting and priming process. Now nowadays there are a lot of part separators and third-party tools that you can buy that allow you to separate parts much more easier, but nevertheless I still prefer the peg cutting technique when it comes to pure convenience and, well, speed. Finally, one of the things that I love about the Gunpla building process is the assembly. especially with this new Force Impulse Gundam. The real grade line has come a long way from the RX-78 2 that, well, started it all off. Just building this thing, just putting it all together, I was blown away by how intricate and arguably simple the whole thing was. If you get a chance to build the real grade Force Impulse, a lot of people don't really talk about it, especially at least in Japan. Give it a shot. It's an amazing kit. Now when it comes to the completed snapped kit, the Impulse Gundam looks very good. I do think that the detailing is very well done, and I do think the color separation is also superb. However, I do think that the feet are a little bit too thin for my liking. It does make posing this thing a little bit of a pain. Just getting into a nice standing pose where the feet are fully flushed against the ground, that takes roughly about 3 minutes to do. I do think in that sense maybe the high grade has a little bit of an edge there, but nonetheless still a great kit. Feet problems aside, I do think that the Impulse Gundam has a lot going for it. Here I have a simple pose of it with just the armor Schneiders out, and although I think it does not have as much impact as it would with the Force silhouette on, for the fans who just like the base Impulse, they're probably going to be happy with this kit, I think either way. Now, for those Striker Pack fetish enthusiasts out there, I do think that the Force Impulse Gundam is indeed a must-buy. With the Striker Pack on, all the balance issues that I mentioned about the base Impulse kit, I think are indeed fixed here. There's less foot floating issues just because the back weight of the Striker Pack is helping hold it all down in place. In addition, with the Striker Pack, the fully expanded shield, the beam sabers, all the accessories now being attached on, this kit suddenly starts filling out and it just becomes more worth that 3,000 yen price tag. Finally, here's just a nice action-based pose of the Force Impulse to end this video off. If you are a Striker Pack enthusiast, or even just like cracking Gunpla boxes and getting a good old whiff of those runners, please do consider supporting the channel by hitting the like, comment, or maybe subscribe button if you're feeling it today. In the meantime, it's time for me to start disassembling and prepping this kit for paint. I'm bad at ending videos, so I'm just gonna see you later. Bye.